Donald Trump announces plans to deliver weapons to Ukraine through NATO and issues a warning to Russia if a deal isn't reached to end the war.
We're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is.
European trade ministers discuss how to respond to President Trump's new threat of 30% import tariffs. An International Red Cross official tells the BBC one hospital in Gaza has handled more mass casualties in the past month than they have in the past year. Now, hospitals in Gaza say at least 20 people are dead after Israel continued to bombard the territory on Monday. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says the number of people killed since the start of this part of the war in October 2023 passed 58,000 over the weekend. That followed a string of attacks, including one that killed 6 children who were waiting at a water distribution point. The Israeli Defense Forces confirmed that attack, saying as a result of a technical error, the munition fell dozens of meters from the target. It added, the IDF regrets any harm to uninvolved civilians. Well, this all comes as Israeli politicians have been criticising Benjamin Netanyahu's government over its proposal to force all 2 million Palestinians in Gaza into a single so-called humanitarian city. Opposition leader Yair Lapid called the idea crazy, criticising both the cost and the logistics of the proposal, while former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert compared the proposal to a concentration camp and said if the plan went ahead, it would amount to ethnic cleansing. Now, at least 9 people were killed after a fire swept through an assisted living facility in Massachusetts. Dozens of residents and 5 firefighters have been taken to hospital. Officials are still investigating the cause of the fire. In a statement, the local fire department said that several occupants had been pronounced dead at the scene, with others rescued and taken to local and regional hospitals in varying conditions. At least 50 people were reportedly killed during clashes between Syrian forces and armed militia groups in southern Syria. Around 100 others were injured. Syria's Interior Ministry says the fighting broke out on Sunday in the predominantly Druze city of Swedia. Witnesses claim the violence was triggered by the abduction and robbery of a Druze merchant on Friday. The city's governor called for restraint after 6 soldiers were killed in an effort to de-escalate the situation. Television adaptation of the Harry Potter series has officially begun production as a first look at the main character in costume has been revealed. Producers released this picture of Dominic Loughlin on Monday and confirmed several new cast members. Well, you can guess there who the 11-year-old is playing. Harry Potter, the title, of course, shown here dressed in his wizardly wardrobe on set, filming the first episode that new show. The book series has, of course, already seen a successful 8-movie franchise, but HBO is now hoping to recapture the magic with the project, which it expects will take around 10 years to complete.
And Nvidia will resume sales of its advanced H20 chips to China after the US government assures the company that licenses will be granted. Authorities in India and South Korea have ordered airlines to inspect fuel control switches on their Boeing planes. It comes after the switches reported involvement in a fatal Air India crash that killed 260 people in June. The plane maker and US federal authorities, though, say fuel switch locks on Boeing jets are safe. The first Indian ever to set foot on the International Space Station, astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, is on his way home. A live broadcast showed the privately funded Axiom 4 mission undocking from the orbiting laboratory with its 4-member crew on Monday. It is expected to land back on Earth in a few hours' time. Shukla is only the 2nd Indian to have gone to space. His trip comes 41 years after cosmonaut Rakesh Sharma flew aboard a Russian spacecraft in 1984. Authorities say hard drives containing unreleased music by Beyoncé have been stolen from her choreographer's rental vehicle in Atlanta. The theft occurred on the 8th of July, just 2 days before Beyoncé's first Atlanta performance. Among the items stolen are 5 USB flash drives containing unreleased music, footage plans for shows and a set list. Atlanta police say an arrest warrant has been issued, but the suspect's name has not been made public. Begin with the latest growth figures out of the world's second largest economy, which seems to be shrugging off all the global trade turmoil. China's second quarter GDP rose 5.2% on an annual basis. That was slightly better than expected. But the health of the Chinese consumer is still in question, with retail sales for June slowing to 4.8%.
Let's have a look at this morning's newspapers, shall we, at nearly 20 past 6 this morning. This is the Sun newspaper, leading with allegations against the presenters of MasterChef. John Turode has said he is subject to an allegation of using racist language, upheld as part of an inquiry into separate allegations against co-host Greg Wallace. The paper says the BBC and production company Banerjee had asked Turode to leave MasterChef and claim he had mental health issues following the allegation, but he refused. BBC insiders have distanced themselves from that claim.
Let's have a look at The Independent, which is focusing on those guilty verdicts of a couple who killed their baby daughter. Constance Martin and Mark Gordon were convicted of manslaughter by gross negligence in a retrial yesterday.
The Daily Express leads on Rachel Reeves' upcoming budget, warning of higher taxes for middle-class workers. The Chancellor will have to deliver her budget in the autumn.
And Gary was telling us about his interview with President Trump. The Guardian headlining with Trump and Putin, writing that the US president has issued a warning to the Kremlin after agreeing a deal with NATO to provide more arms to Ukraine.
President Trump tells the BBC he's disappointed but not done with President Putin. Hours after giving Russia a deadline for a ceasefire with Ukraine, he spoke exclusively to the BBC and described his frustrations with previous talks with the Kremlin.
We had a deal done 4 times, and then you go home and you see it just attacked a nursing home or something in Kiev. I said, what the hell was that all about?
Well, the interview came during a surprise evening call with our chief North America correspondent.
Lo and behold, I got a sudden call from the President. I accidentally hung up on the President of the United States, but they called back and I was able to record the interview.
Also on the programme. It's been revealed that thousands of Afghans have moved to the UK under a secret relocation scheme set up after personal data of people potentially at risk from the Taliban was leaked. The BBC's Director General defends his position. After a series of scandals, he said he can lead the broadcaster in the right way and that MasterChef does have a future. Teaching young people to recognise and speak out against misogyny. New guidance will be added to the sex education curriculum. The silent screams of a grapevine that's just been cut. How scientists are adjusting frequencies to listen in on communication between plants and insects. King Charles was joined by actor Idris Elba as he hosted a Youth Opportunity Summit at St James's Palace this morning. He heard from the Luther actor about the importance of providing positive opportunities for those impacted by youth violence. The Prime Minister, who was also there, praised Mr Elba for his brilliant campaign against knife crime. He said there'd been some milestones reached, but added, we can't take our foot off the pedal.
Tonight at 6, in an exclusive interview with the BBC, Donald Trump talks about NATO, the role of the UK, and his views on Vladimir Putin.
I'm not done with him, but I'm disappointed in him. We had a deal done 4 times, and then you go home and you see it just attacked a nursing home.
Our other main story tonight, after Greg Wallace, now his co-presenter John Turode is also sacked from MasterChef. A complaint that he used racist language was upheld, though Mr Turode denies it. How thousands of Afghans had to be secretly relocated to the UK after a data leak by the MOD. The 2 men who caused outrage when they cut down the Sycamore Gap tree are sentenced to over 4 years in jail. And the prolonged dry spell across England means 2 more areas are now officially in drought, bringing the total to 4.
Britain's forced adoption shame, the film shining a light on a dark chapter in the UK's history. We speak to the director.